Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Continence Chat. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Susie Fox, and we're excited to jump into our call today with Pam Brandon, who is very well known and also very well respected in the senior living space, especially the memory care space. As many of you know, Pam is the founder of AGE-u-cate Training Institute. What some of you may not know, and hopefully Pam will share a little bit, but not only is she the founder of AGE-u-cate Training and Dementia Live, but she also has extensive experience, hands-on experience, caring for her mom and dad who were challenged with both dementia and Parkinson's. And that's what I think makes her offering and her wisdom and her insights so special, is because she has been there, done that, lived through it, and turned what can often be life's lemons into lemonade by helping so many others in the field. So I know Susie and I are super grateful to have this conversation. And that being said, Pam, I know you can do a whole lot more justice to your background and AGE-u-cate than I can, but maybe as a way of getting started, can you just share a little bit more about your passion for creating AGE-u-cate and bring everyone up to date of what that model looks like today?
Yes, I am delighted to be here. To two wonderful people, Deanna and Susie. I'm just thrilled to be able to talk to you today and tell you a little bit more about how I got to this point. And like so many people, it seems like in the aging services space, they often come to it from personal experience, and I was one. In my early 30s, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I became a long-distance primary caregiver for many years for him. And then shortly after he passed away, my mother was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So typical sandwich generation, two very young children, and trying to do it all, and hard journey. So went on that journey that I would never, ever change in my life. It was full of many blessings, but it's a hard road. It's a lonely road, and I am very compassionate for all those other caregivers, and spent many years running support groups and helping organizations start support groups. And that's where I slowly created AGE-u-cate. I guess it was a little bit of this, where you begin to say, wait a minute, I'm not the only one that is struggling. And so many years ago, I just felt like I wanted answers from the healthcare community, and they didn't have those either. And I realized, there needs to be more tools, tools that really help with that empathy building and compassion building, and those soft skills were always something I was like, if you give me that, if I have an understanding of that, I can learn all these other things. I mean, and I did. I mean, I dug into both of these diseases to learn everything I could. And it's time consuming. There's a lot to learn, but when I created and had the idea that Dementia Live could be that foundational tool, that we could use it to, bring that empathy to light, that deepened understanding, that compassion, bring out those feelings from what a caregiver is living with, that opens the door, right? I feel like because Dementia Live takes you from a simulation experience of what it's like to live with dementia to actually being able to talk to a trained coach and share those feelings, that's a lot of what a caregiver needs to do. It's huge. I mean, caregivers like to be heard, and they like to get their feelings out. So it brings out those raw emotions when you go through. And you, being newly trained coaches, you can understand that, right? So we use that emoji sheet to show a participant so they can say, wow, I feel so alone I feel so angry, I feel less than adequate, and all those other things that go along with it. So that's how Dementia Live got started. And we're going on our 11th year, and have reached over 2 million people with this program, and continue to grow and see that it's impacting, staff to families to community awareness. And that really means a lot to me.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Pam, I didn't realize, I think over 2 million people. That's wow. That's incredible. Kudos. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. Susie, maybe you want to jump in here, because I know you are one of a couple of us that have the actual gear packs, and Pam shared about some of us on the Seni team recently becoming newly trained certified coaches. And by now, some folks watching this will have seen the press release. But do you want to share what your training was like, and maybe bring the audience up to date about what we envision this collaboration between Seni and Dementia Live and AGE-u-cate to be?
Sure. I think the training surprised me. There's lots of different components. I'm not going to give the secrets away. Components help people to walk through an experience that they never would have had the opportunity to go through otherwise. And I understand the training has been created not only for caregivers that are professional caregivers working in a senior community, but also for family caregivers. Mm-hmm. And experiencing that certainly opens one's eyes to the challenges that a family member or an individual could have. Diminished eyesight, difficulty maneuvering fingers, due to neuropathy or some other type of challenge like that. Hearing issues. How often have we expected a certain person to respond a certain way when we ask a question and they don't respond, and what happens? We get irritated. Yeah. Or hey, I've said this 3 times. Why are they not going to the kitchen to get the towel? Maybe they only heard the word kitchen, and they're in the kitchen and they're trying to figure out, what was I supposed to do in the kitchen? Maybe they only heard the word towel, and now they're headed in the wrong direction to the bathroom. And yet the family member who gave the instruction is thinking, what in the world is going on? We lose our patience. We don't have the empathy or the compassion, or really even the understanding to see there's a bigger picture here. This individual is dealing with a lot more than what I see or what I could understand. And that's just me. Add maybe my children, add other family members, put them in a social setting, in a room with lots of people giving instructions or asking questions. I think this is an excellent program to help individuals with understanding, discernment, to kind of pause and go, you know what? Maybe I need to step back for a minute, word this a different way, or assist in a manner that I didn't think about before. So I applaud you, Pam. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, and I came away going, wow. Just thank you.
Well, thank you for that feedback. There's many dementia training options out there, and this training is really meant to be that foundational training that is simple yet very, very powerful. As you know, Susie and Indiana, from taking the training, we focus on these empowerment tools, and one is our communications tool. And just what you were sharing, simple communication tools, or the way we change our communications you think of a simple tool as not being effective when it is extremely powerful. And so many caregivers just don't understand that. They don't understand, why is mom asking what I had for breakfast, 5 times? And every time she asks, I get more and more agitated. And, and it's that stepping back, slowing down, and realizing that they can't control what's happening in their brain. And when people come out of Dementia Live, they understand what that means, because they understand that they didn't do so well doing very simple tasks, right? So they then get the feeling of, wow, I now know what I can't do means, because I couldn't do it. And now I understand the person I'm caring for, whether that's a loved one or a resident they're caring for in memory care, or a patient at a hospital, that person really can't change what's going on in their brain.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us then to make those changes. And we can make many changes in how we communicate and care for them, because ultimately, just like Seni, your goal is quality of life, right? Dignity, and for those, not just with dementia, but anyone. And that's where we are. Ultimately, the goal is to improve the quality of care.
Yeah. And I know, it's interesting that you bring up Seni, and I think one of the biggest factor of the two companies working together in collaboration to bring awareness of, I call it, both sides of the fence, so to speak, people with dementia, people that are caring for people with dementia, and also the incontinence issue. Because I think of it, set with incontinence, it's being reduced, but there still is stigma out there where people don't want to talk about it. And if you really think of it, with people with Alzheimer's, it's not always a visible disease, right? And that's what makes it so parallel with incontinence. It's can have a stigma, unintentional, but I picture especially family caregivers who have lived with their loved one, and all of a sudden, to Susie's point, they're asking 5 different times, did you put that away, or whatever the question may be. My whole point being, it's not visible. And when something's not visible, in my opinion, it's really important for family caregivers, especially, to have that sense of empathy. And so people taking that course that are family caregivers, to me, the biggest thing screaming, in my opinion, would be empathy, a better understanding of what their loved one. And then I think for paid caregivers, they can have, they have choice whether they take the role or not, but a clearer foundational understanding of the folks that they're getting paid to serve comes into play. But they can have different stresses of leadership, maybe saying, you've got 20 residents to care for, and if anything's out of line in a particular time slot, because it can be task driven, now you've got a caregiver that has another element. There's just so much complexity to it. But I think, to your point, to Susie's, if everybody just, let's pause, breathe. And one thing, I'm not going to give away everything in the course, but one thing you said loud and clear in the course, Pam, was we don't want to argue with people. We don't want to argue. And if people remember that, there's no point, if they understand the brain is changing, this person that looks similar internally is changing, and that unfortunately is a disease. And it's changing, and we've got to have empathy and caring, and not argue. That's what kind of struck me.
Yeah, that's a great little snippet from there, that you step back and you think, okay, when a caregiver starts that road of, I'm going to correct them, I'm going to make sure they understand what's real, and it escalates to an argument, that caregiver is raising their own blood pressure, and it's not a quality of life for that caregiver either. And when they learn the communication and better care skills that are really basic, powerful tools, this is going to make the care partner's life better too. And whether they're professionals or families or someone at the grocery store who's, helping someone who has dementia. I mean, really, if you look at it today, dementia is affecting every sector of our society. Someone is being touched by dementia. So, it has far and wide effects, right? Where we can really teach people and make them aware. And like you said, with the stigma of incontinence, there's a stigma with dementia, and there's that embarrassment of the person living with it and the person caring for them. And we have to try to reduce that stigma. And, we do that through education. I mean, it all comes down to if we educate people, those things will be reduced.
Right, right. I'm curious, Pam, what kind of results have you seen among the caregivers in senior living communities, perhaps, that have completed the Dementia Live training?
Yeah, we have, of course, many senior living, what we call program partners, those who have undertaken taken the training, and many in senior living, once they introduce the training program, they see right away that everybody in a community needs to go through it, from the dining staff to the maintenance staff to really everyone, so they start with their staff training, put them through, the training that, just like you went through, and then they share it with their families, understanding that the families are a part of that care team. And the response is, is amazing. They say, wow, I have a different perspective now. I never realized, and it can be emotional for caregivers, both professionals and families. And you can imagine if somebody goes through and they realize, I've been doing this for a very long time, but I've been taking the wrong approach. And sometimes they leave feeling, guilty for doing that. And, but here's where the turning point is when somebody gets to that point after they've gone through the experience, had that empowerment session discussion with that trained coach, and they leave. And it's kind of like when you hit that mountaintop of understanding, like the aha moment, and then it is like, phew, well, now that I know that, I can change. I can learn more. And we want them to feel empowered, and that's why we call it an empowerment session. We want people to walk away with certainly a deeper understanding, but tools that will make a difference in the way they care and the way they communicate and the way they look at people with dementia.
Yeah. I love that. I know we started talking, I mean, we've known each other for a number of years, you and I, Pam, but I know we started talking about this collaboration many months ago.
Right.
And like any good thing, right, it started with a brainstorming session of why would this be successful? Why should we work together? How do we help more people? And I think our pillars were, we both agree, our two organizations are heavy on the education, heavy on the dignity, share some pillars around
Right.
stigma that we talked about, and just kind of heart and head mission of helping others. And I think as we have continued to talk, it's interesting. I was at a conference, it was a while ago, but it struck me. Things strike, right? When you're talking with people, it's an aha moment.
Yeah.
Or addition. And I remember there was a leader of a senior living chain that was up on stage, and they were talking to vendor partners. And one of the things that struck me is she said, our teams, our caregiver teams, they're fatigued when it comes to pilot programs. They're just tired. And that word pilot can be stop. I'm fatigued. I'm tired. Please, no, not another pilot. But what struck me about our collaborative efforts is I feel like as we continue to work more closely and perfect what we're both doing in the field with this relationship, is we can go in and be a 2-for-1, so to speak, with education for caregiver teams to say, okay, these two are closely aligned. People with dementia often have not even just light incontinence, it's heavy, it's deep in the weeds, where a lot of education and understanding is needed to hopefully help people age in place. But it's, I think, great for leaders in communities to be aware that our groups are talking together, because instead of 2 individual meetings, we can have one, and we can share more about Dementia Live and the benefits that will help their teams, while at the same time talking about the benefits of not just Seni products per se, but why they're important and how they ripple out to better outcomes for everybody. And then if they're meeting with your team, it's the same scenario. That's what I'm excited about. Is I feel like we listened to senior living that said, we're tired, folks, and we've come back with a solution that says, well, let's kind of tighten things up when it makes sense collaboratively. Do you feel that way?
100%. Yeah. I mean, so many things that you just said, I think that's why when we started talking, we got excited right away. We both feel that collaborations are extremely important in this space. There's just so much need, and we have to all work together, especially organizations that are the same mission-driven type organizations. I think we knew that right away, that we were both great people to work with and together with. But you're exactly right. We have to realize that professional caregivers are absolutely tired. And I think I'm a big believer that we have to make training as simple and as powerful as possible, and not too complex. When things are too complex, they are not learned in this crazy world where we live in now, that we have so much information, clogging our brains. Let's make learning, and I don't want to say fun, but experiential learning is very, very effective. It takes that learning to over 80% retention, so it's effective. People remember going through Dementia Live years later. So let's not make it more complicated than we need to. And that's not to say there are many, many good dementia training programs, and, that can many times are layered on top of Dementia Live because it's such a complex disease. But let's start with effective and simple. We need to keep our caregivers with our companies, and we need to give them the tools to feel like when they go care for somebody, they are equipped. I mean, really, that's what we want them to do. Equipped with the knowledge of how to care for someone with dementia, just like you want to equip them with how to care for someone who's incontinent.
Yeah.
And give them those basic, really, really important top tools.
Yeah. Your training is very inclusive. The experience, I'm going to say the experience is inclusive. And what I mean by that is, to your point, people learn differently. So there are many good training programs out there, but if even Susie, myself, you, Pam, if 5 of us had words on paper, we might interpret those words differently. But it's clear from the Dementia Live training, when people are engaged and truly having an experience. And so I won't use the word fun either, but you said it, effective, and I would say impactful, and engaging. Those would be my 3. You learn, in my opinion, you learn and you retain, and that's the key too. You retain it. And I think, and you go through it with your teammates. And that to me is collaboration. So I feel like maybe fun is not, and you got to have fun in learning too, but I would say that the more impactful words would be effective, engaging, inclusive. But you hit the checkbox on all of those elements.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that trained many, many, many of our hundreds, if not thousands, of trained coaches come back and they become champions in their organizations because they love doing Dementia Live. And as you begin to do this more and you begin to have those conversations with people, there is some fun in this, because you can take this very serious disease, and in those conversations, which, you know, we talk about all the challenges that they go through. Within those conversations come some brevity and, you know, some lightness, where caregivers need to share that too, you know, and that's a good thing. And like you said, anything we can do to bring the collaboration together among team members, always good, right?
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
them talking together. And if that means a laugh or two, even better.
Something that I learned from you in the training was the impact of loud noises and how that can startle an individual. It's an unexpected noise. It could be a siren. It could be a plate dropping. And what would the tendency be? The person gets fearful, right? They hear this unexpected loud commotion. They don't understand what's happening. They might not recognize what the sound is right away. And then I'm thinking of individuals that are trying to sleep at night, and they may be in incontinence products that are not high performing, and they may feel like, uh-oh, I'm going to have an accident. So they try and get up in the night, and some communities will have an alarm. So if the individual is trying to get out of bed, an alarm is going off, they're already nervous, they don't want to have an accident, they're not in the right product, and now they have an alarm and they're in bed, weeping, scared, fearful. What atmosphere is that creating?
Yeah, it's creating a domino effect of risk, right? I mean, just, you know, if they do get out of bed, they could fall. If the alarm goes off, it raises raises them to another level of anxiety. So perfect example, Susie, of step back, realize the sounds that are in your community, realize what's going on in the dining room. And, you know, sounds can really have an effect on so many people as they age, whether they have dementia or not. I don't know about you two ladies, but I do not love loud restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not so sure I like crowds anymore, right? Things do
Yeah.
change.
It just happens as you age. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, you know.
Yeah, so true.
So it's a great example that you told of, you know, how many things can go wrong with just an alarm going off, and how, you know, that effect that it has on so many things. And then when that happens, you have to go back and correct everything, you know. So if they had a good continence product where they weren't scared of leaking and having an accident and all that, wouldn't look at what would be eliminated in that situation. Is that a good way to step back and look at it? That's one thing that would be eliminated. They might be still scared of the alarm, but they wouldn't have that.
Yeah. They'd be sleeping through the night. So yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, I think we're coming up on our time, but Pam, this has been very, very fun. It always is when we're chatting together, and I know our team continues to be excited about the future and what this collaboration will look like a year from now once we've continue to be in the trenches and figure things out. So I would just say to our audience, if you're in the senior living space and you haven't had the opportunity to be introduced to either AGE-u-cate or Seni, give one of us a call. We would love to share more of what we're doing together, and we really believe that we can help your teams. And that's it from me. Susie, do you have any parting thoughts?
I just want to thank you for creating an experience that can help all of us elevate our levels of empathy and compassion. I know oftentimes we don't realize that we're lacking in those areas. And thank you for creating that experience and the resources that can help not just the communities, but the individuals and the family members as well. So we appreciate you, Pam.
That really, thank you so much. And I will tell you that it's that feedback that drives my work. And isn't that what we're all here to do, is really make a meaningful change in the time we have here. Thank you so much. And I can't wait for this to get started on this collaboration and see where it goes with such a great team that you have. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.